Big news out of the UK yesterday. Oxford and Cambridge, two of the most prestigious universities, have decided that they're going to replace traditional exams, closed book exams done under strict exam conditions, with more open book exams where, you could take the questions home with you and do them in your own time. And they're doing this because they want to close the attainment gap between middle-class white students and students from socioeconomically disadvantaged backgrounds, specifically black students and Bangladeshi students. Their rationale is that exams, as they're currently done, are divisive, and in fact, there was a quote from one of their papers on this saying that traditional exams are seen as a threat to the self-worth of those students. I mean, this is just crazy. And people have pointed this out already, that this is dumbing down standards, it's going against meritocracy, and moreover, it's just racist to suggest that students from other backgrounds are going to be unable to do the exams, and that therefore standards need to be dumbed down for them. But there's still a lot of people who defend this policy, and this policy echoes a lot of the same DEI policies we've seen happening in America up until recently. Now that Trump's in power, we're going to see rollbacks of all of those things. And affirmative action, actually, where American colleges were making it easier for black applicants to get in, that's already been rolled back thanks to the Supreme Court ruling. We really need something like that here, to be honest, because this is, I think, such a terrible idea. And just to give an idea of why it's so bad if people aren't convinced, imagine a more extreme scenario. Imagine a scenario where you've got a bunch of students who are from some tribal, you've got a bunch of students who are from some tribe living out in the jungle. And then at 14 years old, they get brought to the metropolis in the UK and they got to apply for university to get in when they're 18, right? Those students are going to be so far behind everyone else that they won't even be able to do an exam, let alone score well on it. So what should a university do in that situation? Should it just eliminate the exam completely, right? Or should it do something else? And in that situation, if you were to say, well, let's eliminate the exam completely, you'd realize how stupid that is. The right answer actually is to upskill these students so that they're able to compete on an equal playing field. And that's what we need to be doing with students from these backgrounds, black students and Bangladeshi students. Why aren't they achieving as much? Do they not have as much support at home? Is the fact that a lot of black kids grow up in single-parent households a factor? Are there cultural factors at play? Is academic achievement not as valued amongst people of those backgrounds? These are the questions that need to be asked. Now, people, I think, are aware of this, but they don't really want to focus on those questions. Why? Because it's harder to solve those problems. It's harder to change the culture of a community. It's harder to solve the problem of single-parent households. These are much harder to solve than simply saying, oh, well, you know what, we'll just lower the standards for everyone so that way we don't have to worry about solving those problems. So what's the end result of all of this? We don't solve the root reasons, the root causes as to why these students can't get in. At the same time, we dumb down the standards so that an Oxford degree in computer science or medicine doesn't have the same value it used to. And if you see a candidate from that background, if you see a black doctor or a Bangladeshi doctor, you're going to now question whether that person's actually good enough to do the job or whether they got their degree because of DEI. That's the real problem here. And it also adds a cognitive load to everyone who has to do business with people like that, right? Because now you have to question. Because you have to question it, that's extra brain work you now have to do. So the net result for society, in my opinion, is negative. The only way you could spin this as a positive is if you said, okay, for a year or 2 years, we're going to make it easier for people to get through these degree courses, but then we will bring back rigorous standards. So we just want to get a batch of people in. But that's not what's being said here. And to be honest, even that to me is not that great a solution. I'd rather we just don't do this in the first place. We should be aiming to upskill everybody. We should be sending a much more positive message to black kids and to Bangladeshi kids and say, you know what? You guys are capable of achieving anything in the world. Here's how we can, over the long term, make that happen. Instead of saying, you guys aren't capable of doing this degree, so we're going to make it easier for you. That's just the wrong way to go about this. And to me, unfortunately, it's a sign of a lot of things in the UK. We're still stuck in this sort of DEI paradigm. America's moved on now. They're moving on. We're still stuck in it. And we've been stuck in this for a long time. both the political parties are at fault here, both of them, right? It doesn't make a difference that it's Labour government or Tory government. Culturally, we've allowed this to take root and gain power. And now we're seeing the consequences of this. It's astonishing to me that Cambridge University would even suggest something like this. I applied to Cambridge when I went to university, and I had to take an entrance exam for the maths with computing course. I didn't pass the exam, but I'm just thinking back to that and thinking, wow, that was quite rigorous. They only wanted people with a certain level of capability. Imagine if they had these thoughts back then. I wouldn't have had to do the exam. Maybe I'd have gotten in. But to be honest, if you ask me, would I rather be given a place at a university because I'm brown and they want to make it easy, or because I earned the right for that place, because I worked hard and proved myself and showed that I was good enough? For me, it's much the latter. I'd much rather the latter. And that's the other thing that we take away from all these students. We take away that ability to build pride and be proud of their work and proud of what they're achieving when we just make things too easy for them. So we shouldn't be doing this. Standards are there for a reason. Exams are there for a reason because they're a fair way of measuring people. In my opinion, they're a fair way of measuring people. We shouldn't just be eliminating them. Before we go to eliminating exams, let's try and solve the other problems first, the bigger problems first.